Hello, Robert here from Health Promotion. And our topic today for the Healthy Lifestyle series will be on physical activity, or class 4. All right, so physical activity basically encompasses everything within our health, fitness, and performance. As we know, we have a number of individuals, right, that are not creating enough movement throughout the day. Sedentary. Again, these lifestyles can be linked to a number of chronic diseases, type 2 diabetes, increase in body fat, obesity. Number one killer in America, of course, is heart disease, and these contributing factors of from weight, association with high blood pressure, cholesterol, having those coronary artery disease. So 150 million Americans. So physical activity has tremendous health promoting, disease preventing benefits. As the pictures show, not a side effect there of any medication which exercise can provide. So sit less and move more. So physical activity for health. So the American College of Sports Medicine has our recommendation guidelines as far as how many minutes per week, days per week to include this activity in our daily life. So we want to try to achieve at least 150 minutes, so 30 minutes of some moderate intensity activities on most days of the week. And those days can be narrowed down to more vigorous types of activities. So we include more high intense interval training 2 days a week in 20-minute sessions. So physical activity basically encompasses anything. We're moving our arms and legs. We're increasing that exercise metabolic rate. So anything under exercise, under movement, under the physical fitness, everything is going to be labeled physical activity. The more dreaded, planned, structured is going to be the exercise. So again, we can set an exercise plan based upon days per week or frequency, based on intensity, based on the time duration of the session, and the modality of the exercise. Physical fitness is more moderate to vigorous levels. So when we kind of look at more metabolic conditioning programs like CrossFit, high intense interval training, high intense tactical training, sport performance type training, more of this physical fitness is what we label this under. All right, so the physical activity pyramid. So we'll kind of click through this and kind of label this out. So on this diagram basically shows the importance in variety, importance in abundance of what we should include mostly at the bottom of our pyramid to less frequently at the top. So the daily physical activity at the bottom, which we labeled this more or less what's called NEAT, a non-exercise activity thermogenic. So basically doing things like walking, stretching, our mobility works, a lot of our active recovery aspects on here, taking the stairs, hobbies can be incorporated into here, like gardening, chores such as housework, cleaning, shopping, where we're maybe getting not a more structured, time frame, but these are like intermittent types of little micro type workouts. And you can include a lot of these, hourly half hour, maybe push-up sessions for like a minute, a squat, doing some cooking. You can add all these micro snack workouts in to this daily physical activity, bottom of the pyramid, the base of like the most we want to try to accumulate. So again, it's accumulating steps throughout the day, postural movements, and now we're not just sitting inactive. As we move up next into that cardio, aerobic, or anaerobic type exercise. So when we kind of look at things in that 3 to 5 days per week of our moderate high intensity. So again, we might be looking at a time frame anywhere from maybe that minimum 20, 30 to 60 minute time frame. So all your things like running, elliptical, swimming, biking, rowing, more continuous in nature. It can be in combination like a strength and cardio workout, like that high intensity interval training again, the metabolic conditioning like CrossFits or Tabata type workouts. These are those work rest ratio time frame workouts. The next up is going to be our more enjoyment. So a lot of things within exercise or physical activity, we're more apt to continually utilizing these workouts in is making it fun, making it enjoyed. Such as recreational activities like tennis, soccer, ultimate frisbee, disc golf, maybe where you're walking the holes. And then the more sport competitive in nature there that we train for this particular event. This could be as minimum as training for the 5K, training for the half marathon, training for the Spartan race, right? So we're like utilizing a lot of our bottom of the pyramid training approach there for the competitive event at the top. And the last but not least at the top is our inactivity, screen time, computer, some of us at work. What we want to try to do is kind of flip this around a little bit, because again, what's happening in our modern world is that we're spending a lot more time on our phones, sitting on the couch, watching TV, Netflix binging, right? So we're not incorporating a lot of our daily physical activities. So we have to hack sometimes our environment around us and be mindful at the bottom of the pyramid that that's what we want to try to incorporate in. Not saying any of that stuff at the top is bad, but again, are we spending too much time utilizing those inactivities at the bottom of our pyramid? So what's our benefits of regular physical activity? So basically every system in our body, organ, can benefit from some sort of regular physical exercise, activity, movement. Our heart and lungs working together, again, cardiorespiratory fitness is the way to utilize oxygen through our body, get the blood flow out. We know it definitely decreases the risk for heart disease, helps with blood pressure, raises our good cholesterol, decreases our bad cholesterol. It helps regulate our blood sugar. We definitely see an improvement in decreased risk of certain types of cancers, especially strength training, right? We definitely can see more of a increased bone mineral density. So anything fixated, if it's like running or jumping, jump rope, squats, all have increased bone mineral density improvement. Hot topic in this pandemic, of course, with COVID, is our immunity. So we want to have a strong, healthy immune system to fight off some of this bad bacteria, of course, and virus. So exercise definitely can have an improvement with this, making sure again that this is the right balance of that stress. Because again, if we're having a cumulative type stresses of going on in our life. And then we have exercising without poor sleep, having high intense interval training on top of that. That might not be a great recipe for immune system with accumulative stresses, even within exercise. Lots of studies within exercise, physical activity, improve mental health status, and utilize a lot within a stress management technique. What we see a lot with exercise and our mental health is the aspect of, hey, are we walking? Are we moving? So a lot of study in walking in nature, going for a hike, actually went head to head with certain types of medication for improved mental health status, such as Prozac, and actually had a better outcome with less side effects. So just getting outside for a walk in the sunshine, listening to nature, might just be all what we need. Utilize a walkable Wednesday, get outside, be more productive in your afternoon work session. Benefits of regular physical activity. So again, we know the caloric burn we get from movement and exercise, but we have to remember that most of the calories burned is going to be our resting metabolic rate, what's happening on the other hours of the day, versus that 20 or 30-minute exercise session. But in controlling our weight, in having a healthy weight, if we have a good ratio of lean muscle at fat-free mass to fat mass, that will improve both our resting metabolic rate and also our exercise metabolic rate. And we did mention before the prevention of diabetes, the importance again of exercising 150 minutes per week, at least 30 minutes per day. And this can be still cumulative throughout the day. It does not have to be one session. But if you want to break based on time, 2 15-minute sessions, going for a walk, regulate that blood sugar. Overall, in studies of the prevention of diabetes program, showed significant decrease in overall blood sugars. And the most important thing, that improvement of our quality of life. So our components of fitness. So here are our 5 areas that we focus in within an exercise program. Cardiorespiratory fitness, muscular, either strength or endurance, flexibility or mobility, and then the ratio between, again, fat mass, fat-free mass, body makeup is our body composition. So we start with cardiorespiratory fitness, which just means with oxygen. So once we begin an exercise program, make it continuous, increase the level of intensity by heart rate, we consider this being aerobic in nature. Aerobic capacity is how we can measure based upon how well your body is utilizing that oxygen. As our heart is beating, blood is being pumped out to our working muscles. We want it to be more efficient. An aerobic system is having more blood with less beats. Each one of these components of fitness, we can utilize the acronym FIT: frequency, intensity, time, and type of activity, to determine again our exercise program and track our level of progression within our fitness program. So for cardiorespiratory fitness, the first part is determine again your frequency of exercise. Best improvement seen when one exercise vigorously at least 3 times per week. So initially, how many days per week are you exercising? Are you new to your fitness? Are you new to this certain type of activity? So normally we want to set maybe 1-2 days per week and do more of a lower intensity exercise to begin with. And one of the best things to do is just go for a walk. Go for a 20 to 30 minute walk or a cumulative time session 3 to 5 days a week to begin with, before we incorporate some more high impact activities. Determine your exercise intensity. Are you tracking your intensity based on heart rate or more of a perceived exertion number scale? And we'll see those later on the next slide. And lastly is the exercise duration. American College of Sports Medicine recommends that vigorous activities be at least performed 20 minutes at a session and moderate at least 30 minutes at a session. So again, a lower type intensity, you might be doing a longer period of time, versus a high level intensity is going to be at a lower level time. One of the initial things with cardiovascular training is establishing where you need to start and where you need to progress to build what's called your aerobic base. So aerobic nature is basically a large capacity of your aerobic heart and lung function, versus anaerobically is a very small window to improve upon. So one of the things we need to look at is, what is that intensity of your exercise at, and how do we progress from there? So we can track or measure your aerobic intensity by 3 different methods: heart rate, talk tests, or perceived exertion. The calculation 180 minus age formula, called the Melfatone calculation, can basically establish what's considered your 75% of max aerobic heart rate, or your cruising speed, cruising heart rate, and you can make that determination based on that calculation and how often you've been exercising. So for a runner, for example, if you've been running, with -5 from that number. If you haven't been running, +5. So for example, the 30-year-old, 180 minus 30 equals 150, -5, they've been running, their 75% cruising speed heart rate will be at 145. So working smarter versus harder within your building process, what you want to do is begin your activity. If you're running, biking, whatever that modality might be, begin and track and see where your heart rate is. Do you need to manipulate your pace, your speed, your level to try to get it within that 75% level? So for example, for the runner, they'll begin running. If they go over the 145, that runner would need to slow down, manipulate that pace to try to get that heart rate to that 145 or below. So for example, that runner might actually run interval before they're able to run the whole time at that 75% without no walking. The goal could be max time of 20 minutes, 30 minutes. This may take days, weeks, months to get up to that time frame of 30 minutes without walking and running continuously the whole time at 75%. The second method that you can utilize in your cardiovascular activities is a talk test. Slow sentence speaking without breath in between your sentence. You should be able to carry on a conversation pace. That is roughly, again, your estimational 75% as well. Sing happy birthday to you as you kind of go for a run or on the elliptical, on a Stairmaster. The perceived exertion scale is a number scale between 6 and 20. Each number represents the difficulty of your exercise session. No exertion at all, number 6. Maximum high level exertion, near death feeling, 20. Somewhere equivalent to somewhat hard of a 75% to a 90% level of 15. Hard, heavy. So breathing, muscle fatigue, pain Use that all in consideration in utilizing a number scale to determine what that is for you and how that feels on your exercise session. So you can use one or multiple levels of heart rate, talk test, and perceived exertion all within a single exercise session. The pyramids here represent where you initially start at a beginner stage of your endurance training to months and years of maintaining your base. As you build your base, you will always still run at your 75% level. It's very individualized. As you age, that number will change dramatically. But again, we are covering this more distance in that same amount of time if our target is still at 30 minutes time frame. That aerobic base can be increased based on your goal of training for a certain event. For the mile and a half, mostly everyone will be at 30, maybe 45 minutes tops. If you're training for a half marathon or a marathon, that level will probably be 60 minutes or beyond. In the green represents the line of just walking, moving, tasks. Remember the bottom of the pyramid that we showed earlier? Which we spend most of the time in. The next blue level, fat and glucose burning. So now we're talking energy systems being utilized. As a lower intensity, low to moderate intensity is utilized here, just think like a hybrid vehicle, where it kind of switches on from gas to electric. The same thing your body can utilize too, based on your exercise intensity. Low moderate intensity, more fats being utilized versus carbohydrate, glycogen, glucose burning, sugar burning. The first line represents your cruising speed. Okay. Aerobic base heart rate. That's your 75% line. The next line up, 1.5, is probably post 90%. Of course, 90% above becomes more anaerobic in nature in the red. So you can see the less time we spend is redlining high up into that anaerobic threshold area. As we continue this exercise session of 3 days a week, 75% level, and continue that within the days, weeks, months, and even years, respectively, you will become faster. Your cruising speed will increase. So maybe that 10-minute mile became a 8-minute mile in the months down the road. You cover more distance as your speed increases there to get to that heart rate of that 75% level. And then also too, respectively, the mile and a half pace will get faster as well. No longer you have to worry about each fitness assessment there, worrying that you're gonna pass your mile and a half as we age. If you just kind of keep up maintainability of your cruising speed 3 days a week, 30 to 45 minute cardio session. On the right hand side, we have without endurance and running too hard. And we've all been there. Not very trained, your fitness level is low, and now you do your anaerobic, high intense exercise, mile and a half pace, and heart rate increases too much, and then your body says, hey, I need to slow down. I can't do it. So we need to have a great foundation to build upon. A poor aerobic base will have performance lowers, injuries occur, and health suffers. You want to make sure build appropriately, safely, add in those 75%, keep that going there, and then only those few weeks out before your fitness test, add those more intervals, high intense interval training there, sprinting every 7 to 10 days. Make it 20% of your program versus 80% of the time running at your 75%, 30 to 45 minute level. Easy run pace. So what's the magic of that 55 to 80%? Roughly what we're talking about is that 75% intensity max. And pictured here is slow twitch muscle fiber. So this is in our endurance muscle fiber, in our in our legs. What we see happens over time in the weeks and months and years of training is that we have this increase in capillary density. So these will multiply in nature. Think of these as the roads, the network. So as our heart is pumping blood out to our working muscles, it has to get back to the heart very quickly and efficiently. And these capillaries are a way to make this happen. So when we train in this 55 to 80%, the train, don't strain mentality, you actually increase capillary density there. Blood, the heart muscle gets stronger, more blood being pumped out with less beats, faster back and forth to the muscles to work and back to the heart, quickly and efficiently. If you train above this 80% and this anaerobically, there's only a small window of improvement there. You will improve, but it's a small window. Risk the foundation aspect there of compromised immune system, increased stress, increased risk of injury. So even going for a walk at 55% will have this training adaptation effect. Cardio performance training. So safely progressions again, increase those intensities based upon this pyramid approach. So phase one, we talk mostly on. Spend most of the time in your run 30-minute continuous heart rate equal to or less than of your 75%, the 180 minus age. You may spend weeks, months in this phase one training. You can break your phase two into even two different A and B phases if you want to do 70 to 80%, 80 to 90% in your higher level phases. Phase three is more plyometric, jumping, circuit training, aerobic and anaerobic type metabolic conditioning, high intense interval training. A lot of those types of training modalities are what's broken down into this rest work ratio intervals. Phase four is basically our speed or our sprints. So we may do 10-20 minute sprint session with multiple minutes of rest in between each sprint. So as you see from phase one to phase four, we are going up to 75% to 90+% as intensity increases. Again, I reiterate, spending less time, overall time, in your higher level phases versus phase one. So with intensity, what happens with intensity in these different fuel sources? As we saw in our pyramids, normally what we're going to see is based on time and intensity in our cardiovascular session. The blue line, fats, kcal being utilized in the body in a low, very low, moderate intensity. As intensity increases there, fats are still utilized, but the more demand of carbohydrates becomes the main fuel source. Both can be a fuel source when post 90% session. So it can still be advantageous to add in some high intensity interval training, back and forth sessions there, rest and recovery, so we get closer to burning fats and carbohydrates. So this has to be utilized and mindful of on our nutritional planning there based on our exercise sessions and our goals that we want to achieve. More time, more session, could be faster, better results overall. Again, we can still make this metabolic flexibility not just only by training, by foods we eat too, based on carbohydrates and fats, healthy fats. We all would love to keep burning calories at a resting metabolic rate. As mentioned earlier, most of our calories that we utilize for healthy weight management, it's outside of our exercise window. But when we exercise and post-exercise in time frames up to an hour or more after we exercise, we continue to burn those same amount of calories, called EPOC, high elevated post-exercise oxygen consumption. Strength training benefits. All right, switching gears here to increasing, muscle size, hypertrophy. What are the advantages here? Overall body composition improvements. The ratio between lean muscle increase there and fat mass. We know that there's a metabolic rate change, differences in energy and overall positivity and mood outcome when our levels of lean muscle are increased. We're better chance, more resistant to injury. Our bone mineral density is stronger. After a certain age, we stop laying down bone. So if we continue to strength train, we can have more protective to bone mineral wasting, osteoporosis, osteopenia, and have a better overall postural position throughout the day. Perform daily activities without fatigue. Having a greater amount of lean muscle, when you have to do certain things outside of your exercise routine, is it functional? Does it make sense? Are you shoveling snow, pushing a car out of the ditch, bringing and hauling in wood? All those activities there, helping a friend move, having the right amount of strength can benefit those activities. And overall prevention of diseases. So just like our cardio pyramid, we do have the strength training, foundational strength performance training pyramid as well. Let's identify first our strength training types. We have our stability strength, which is considered exercises in our balance and coordination department. Explosive speed, maximal strength. This is our power hypertrophy, which means again, increased lean muscle fiber size. Endurance strength, fatigue resistance, right? More of our body weight, no change in resistance exercises. Within balance and coordination, there is the stability, progression to strength, progression to power. So it's imperative that we work first our foundation, build stability, build strength on top of that, and then perform better with power. So within our pyramid there, at the bottom of the pyramid, our balance, coordination, stability, strength is labeled under phase 1. Our endurance, fatigue resistance exercises could be added into phase 2. Our maximal strength is phase 3, where we start now adding load, right? Intensity, the volume of exercises. And then phase 4 is power. This can be completed based on a movement, based on a plyometric, a jumping force, a twist and turning with rotational. And examples again on this will be on the left hand side. We will see a phase 1 to phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, utilizing a unilateral type approach. So phase 1 is a single leg hold, stance, mid stance hold. So just prop one leg up, stand for one leg. For time, this could be beginning with 10 seconds, building up to that 60-minute time frame. Phase 2 has different variations of that single leg unilateral hold by adding a single leg squat, a single leg deadlift or an RDL, rear-legged deadlift, a heel raise. So this is our calf with a straight leg or bent knee. Phase 3 is, can we add resistance to these exercises? So single leg squat, can we hold a medicine ball, a kettlebell, to add resistance to this exercise? A load. Phase 4 is a single leg squat jump. Now we're going to add a power movement, a plyometric So squat to jump. All exercises could be classified into any one of these 4 different categories. And then we kind of look at the weight that we're utilizing or the load. May determine again, is this an endurance exercise? Would this be utilized for power? Even cardiovascular exercises such as running can be a combination. We know there's a stability strength in a mid-stance position hold, jumping from one foot to the other. Endurance over time, if we're going to do a 20 to 30 minute run. We know there's a push off the ground, incorporating some maximal strength capacity of the gluteus maximus. We know there's a power aspect there, a twisting, turning, rotational of the shoulders with the plyometric, jumping from one foot to the other. A lot of training programs would utilize all 4 phases of exercises, modalities to improve running performance, economy, efficiency, and resistance to injury. In more of a traditional strength training program, we utilize the FIT acronym as well here. Non-consecutive days per week there on certain muscle groups that you're exercising 2 to 5 days a week. If I was doing more endurance type activities, those could be done on more consecutive days. Intensity is going to be determined again by volume of exercises. How many exercises per exercise session am I going to do to hit all major muscle groups if I'm doing upper body, lower body, or split type workouts. Sets per exercise, anywhere from 2 to 4 sets, and repetitions can be determined based on goal. More endurance at a higher repetition, and a more lower repetitions for more power. And this can be set based on level of ability of the individual as well. Start off 1 to 2 sets per exercise, and then increase sets based on the performance, the fitness level increase. Time. So we can look at how many hours do we need to rest between exercise sessions. Utilizing a lower repetition, a higher weight, will deem more soreness, delayed onset muscle soreness, more days in between rest. We know we improve upon rest of the exercise session. 60 to 90 or 20 to 30 seconds between rest, between sets of exercises. So again, based on our goal, based on our repetitions, based on how many sets we're going to do, how long do we need to rest? Higher load, longer rest period time, more muscle recruitment time to perform that set again. More endurance, less rest time in between each set. And this might be also determined upon the level of ability of the person and how they historically have been exercising, doing a strength training routine. If you're pretty adapted within your routine, your exercise, you're going to get less soreness. Doesn't mean improvements are happening. You don't have to do as much rest in between each set, and also your speed ratio would actually change when you're performing that exercise. Normally for a beginner, we want to do a 1 to 2 second ratio on each repetition. Type. Lots of different types utilizing resistance training, from body weight, machine isokinetic type weight training, free weights, bands, medicine balls, flipping tires. That all may set forth based on the enjoyment of the exercise, based on the safety, based on the client member preference, determine on what they're going to utilize. Enjoyment is key as we kind of look at the expanded FITTER into this acronym. Maybe there might be a strength training class environment like CrossFit, a community aspect there that keeps the individual motivated to perform well. Rate of progression. We know when it gets too easy, it's time to increase. But the question always is, what do I increase? Do I increase more volume of sets? Do I increase the load, the weight? Do I change up my exercises? Do I do different muscle groups? Do I add more frequency, more days in? What we need to look at is the overload and ways that we can improve upon our specificity of our goal of what we're trying to accomplish. Usually on an exercise session, frequency is what we want to try to increase first and look at that. Do we only so many days we can increase on an exercise session versus having multiple exercise sessions? But again, will that become too much stress on the body? We know we need to have the right amount of overload and stress, hormesis, to improve, to adapt, to recover, and then repeat this exercise session. Intensity. We can increase the speed or resistance of the activity. Remember, we need to adapt to what we're doing before speed frequency increases. Duration of an exercise session. There is a law of diminishing returns, or the tipping point of so much time that we can utilize in a strength training routine. You can still have an effective, safe exercise session of a 20 to 30 minute session. 1 hour to 2 hour exercise strength training session may not improve much more. Look at each one of these when we want to make improvements for overload versus changing all three. So we kind of look at more of a comprehensive cardio, strength, endurance, exercise prescription. Making sure that we actively, dynamically warm up prior to our session. Here's our running example, pre-run warm up. Again, sometimes even on a strength training session, a dynamic warm up may just be a 5-10 minute ride on a stationary bike. Increase core body temperature, get the muscles ready to demand the workout. Maybe a little warm up sets prior to your working sets of your strength training activity. Key exercises. As we build in sets and volume and time per session of each exercise there, increase as needed there, more time, more sets to increase that volume or difficulty within each exercise. Recovery, probably one of the most important things. Outside of our 20 to 30 minute, 5 days a week exercise session is recovery. Are we getting in, questions asked, are we getting in enough non-exercise activity? Walking and movement throughout the day, or these micro snack workouts. What are we doing for injury prevention, recovery, to get back into demand of our exercise? Doing some myofascial, soft tissue, foam rolling, joint mobility work. Stretching. Most of us, towards the end of our workout session, do not stretch or do not incorporate any type of stretching like yoga, even in our sleep hygiene practice. Stretching is a fundamental with myofascial work, glue within our exercise program to keep a more resilient, robust human system. Add time in your day to get in some good static hold stretches there to improve not just flexibility, but that exoskeletal fascial mobility, muscle mobility movement. Nutrition. One of the high stress in the body is eating high refined sugars, not appropriate fuel, and not appropriate nutrient density quality of food. How do we build these collagen, exoskeleton, fascial tissues? What foods are we eating to build these tissues? Think about being inflamed, having the joint pain from what we may be eating could be a contributing factor. Nutrition is key to make sure we're recovered, we can perform well physically and mentally. Sleep. Underrated, underutilized is just get enough hours of sleep and sleep density, quality of sleep within those hours. A person that sleeps 6 hours or less in 2 consecutive nights have an increased risk up to 40% of increased injury risk. So it's important again that we need to get sleep. Don't sacrifice sleep for that 4 o'clock morning workout. Stress. Everything that we just talked about in recovery could be considered a good or bad stress. Too much of one thing on one end of the spectrum will increase our stress. Incorporate in our stress toolkit to combat some of our life's chronic stresses. Add in some mindfulness practices, breathing practices with our soft tissue work, within our yoga, and even within our mindfulness. Of course, all those will be included in our other healthy lifestyle class series. At the bottom, you'll see a sample cardio and strength training type weekly program examples. These are just a template that can be utilized to work up those pyramids we talked about. How often we add in these certain exercises, programs, it will determine again based on our level of ability. Always adding in some 20 to 60 minute easy run, 75% base, aerobic base runs, or stepping, or elliptical. Heart could care less what you're doing, it just wants to be stressed within those intensities. It's the muscles that are going to be utilized within the specificity of what we're trying to train for. What is your goal? If we're adding in intervals, plyometrics, sprints, tempo runs, some high intense interval training, or metabolic conditioning, make sure first that you have a great foundation, not just cardiorespiratory, but also for muscular endurance, stability, and coordination before advancing up progression to more power type workouts or higher level intensity. Which ties into our last part of discussion is the injury threshold, the chronic pain. So if the top level is back pain, shoulder pain, knee pain, ankle pain, foot pain, plantar fasciitis, right, shin splints, a lot of different musculoskeletal injuries that we may see, it's all going to come down easily down to these 3 fundamental reasons: dosage, mechanics, musculoskeletal foundation. And there might be one or multiple of these depending on what's going on with the certain individual. So when we kind of look at getting out of pain, we need to address these 3 levels. When we're preventing injuries, decreasing the risks, mitigating this so we don't get injured, we still want to make sure we're managing these 3 areas. Within the fit, frequency, intensity, time. What's the volume? What's the load? Have we been exercising? Is this new for us? Are we in good posture? Poor posture? Are we sitting too much? Too much, too soon, too fast? What are we not doing for recovery? And again, recovery is umbrellaed under nutrition, under sleep, under stress. Quality of exercise, not just the mechanics of the gym, the fitness scene, but also our non-exercise activity movements. Muscular foundation. This is a huge part here. The core muscular foundation of strength. Having a more robust, strong, resilient foundation, more resistant to injuries. We must be strength training, even if our goal is to be cardiovascular fit or improve on the 1.5-mile run. Regardless of the push-ups and sit-ups, we must maintain a high level of foundational strength. Overweight for our frame. Is our fat mass too much for our frame and ratio between our fat-free mass? What previous injuries are in our kinetic chain? Do we have an existing knee problem affecting our feet? When we look at our muscular foundation, it's not just bigger, faster, stronger. Not always about strength, but is there imbalances in strength? Do we move poorly in our joint, in our muscle mobility? Can we get into end range of motion optimal and have great tissue tolerances if we're pushing off the ground and running, as an example? We must have great mobility, stability in that joint, and be able to move efficiently, which is considered motor control. All right, the next part here again is a new habit to add in today. Pick something different that you did last week. What do you want to work on? Make it a goal for yourself. Make it smart. When I go for a walk, I will listen to nature, get sunshine, because it provides me with energy, more productivity, less stress throughout the day. And that's it for this class. We'll talk to you later.